Hello and welcome to the latest London South East CEO interview. I'm Donald Leggett and today I'm joined by George Lucan, MD of AIM-listed Angus Energy. They are the onshore energy transition company which has gas assets at Saltfleetby, legacy oil assets including Brockham and onshore geothermal projects in Devon. Greetings, George. I am delighted to be speaking to you today. How are you?
Very good, thank you, Donald. I got a little bit of a cold, but it's not the dreaded sea. We're motoring away here. And
you look as though you're in the middle of nowhere at the moment.
I'm actually in hop country down in Kent at our compressor manufacturers, our fabricators here. And we're
fabulous.
Doing, a regular site visit.
Let me move you on. It's first gas from Saltfleetby in May. Is that correct? That's going to be a great moment for you all.
It is. It's going to be a fantastic moment and a turnaround to actually have regular cash flow and more than enough to absorb overhead. So that for us as a company is something we're tremendously excited about, and as you can imagine, working 24/7 to achieve.
Angus Energy has come a long way under your patronage, under your as MD.
Yes, it has. And when we think where we began in the tail end of a great wheeled oil story that turned out to be somewhat disappointing, at least to date. There may still be pockets of excitement there, and we hope there will be. But it was slightly all eggs in one basket, Donald. What we hope we've done is diversify that. And we've been fortunate enough, I won't say it was genius planning, to have landed on a hydrocarbon stream in gas here in Europe, where the long-term price picture looks immensely supportive for shareholder value. So yes, it is quite a transformation, and I hope one that hasn't finished either, in terms of looking beyond that into the next streams of energy which will bring value to shareholders.
Which takes us very nicely to Saltfleetby. All the final planning permissions for the Saltfleetby gas field were announced on 17th of March. So you're good to go. No last-minute hitches expected, George?
Every day is a gut-wrenching moment. But there's no obvious busts, we call them, no obvious timeline killers at present. But to give you the idea of the scale of this, right now we're less concerned about the fabrication of the actual equipment, and we're more concerned about putting it together in time, at great speed, and safely. There's a tremendous amount of testing procedures that go around all of this, and a lot of paperwork, and it all has to be followed. There's no deviations allowed. So we have basically two elements to it. Now, most of the civils will be complete by the end of this month. So then the remaining elements are electrical and pipe work. And we have something like well over 1,000 welds to complete in total, which we've done probably close on 40% now. And we have an enormous number of electrical connections to make in order that we have good power and control systems. So that's our headache right now, is organizing and structuring all of those supporting staff to bring it all together over the next 30, 40 days.
Okay, let me take you from headaches to happiness. In your latest release, you indicated that gross production from the existing wells is likely to deliver 1.5 million therms, say in June onwards. Gas prices have been very volatile, but very, very high, very strong, and they've dropped back a bit again. You have 51% of that. So is it possible to put that in context for us as to how much that might actually be per month?
Well, as you pointed out, yes, the prices of gas move like Bitcoin, and they've gone from the sort of low level nowadays is 250 or 225 pence a therm. I think that'd be the very lowest we've seen recently, right the way up to 700 pence a therm. At 700 pence a therm, obviously 1.5 million therms is worth well over 10 million pounds. At a more modest 350 pence a therm, you've got 5 million pounds there gross, of which our share would be half. I'm not going to predict where we'll end up with our nominations in June, but I would hope, this is wholly unhedged production for the month of June. I'm clearly hoping for the high side, and as are all our shareholders.
Okay, it's nevertheless a very happy place to be. Now, give me some sense of how many wells are there in Saltfleetby, and when does the sidetrack actually come on stream?
Right, there's 6 remaining wells, of which 2 are immediately producing, and the remainder are candidates for sidetracks and or geothermal projects. And so we're only going to be sidetracking 1 well. Those 2 wells deliver the current 5 million standard cubic feet a day, and which is, say, call it about 1.5 million therms. And the sidetrack will deliver as much as those 2 all in one. The sidetrack, I've got to tell you, has been reviewed now by so many experts in this field and potential purchasers, and indeed third-party independent engineering consultancies, that we're very confident indeed that it will be able to deliver a substantial uplift. We would hope exactly double current production.
When are you planning to have that producing, George?
Well, contractors will have been advised a date of late June. We want to have a few weeks of steady state production, and therefore given a sort of 30-40 day window of drilling and tidying up, perhaps August would be the actual flow date from those extra wells. So that would be tremendous, because even with that on stream, we would expect to pay down all debt this year, this calendar year, gone from the balance sheet, which is quite an achievement. That gives you the idea of the strength of the gas price and the enormous cash producing potential of this field.
And once you've paid off your debt, that means you're revenue positive. What do you do with those revenues?
Well, I think the first thing shareholders are going to be pleased to hear is, to the extent we're not involved in corporate action, which you know is pending, we would be looking to give back some of the money that we've been having to go cap in hand to over the last 2 years, in the form of either a special dividend or a buyback program. But this is somewhat premature. Let's get the thing running.
Getting ahead of ourselves. We've got two branches, 2 routes to go down, haven't we? Okay, let me just talk to you about the share price then. With a market cap of, it's still 40 million. It's been bobbling around. It went up on Friday. It's come back down again today. You remain significantly undervalued relative to your superb gas assets. Will it take first gas in May to reset that price?
I think what you saw on Friday was the beginning of a realization by the market that one way or another, either we hold this asset and produce it, or someone buys the company, or someone buys the asset. Those are the 3 outcomes. But in all those 3 outcomes, 14 million is definitely an undervaluation. And unlike some other instances in hydrocarbons, we're not sitting there and doing multiples of reserves, which may not be realized for many, many years. We're looking at proximate near-term cash of something that everyone now frankly wants to see in the UK. People want gas. There's no dispute about it, from the regulators downwards.
And talking of happier times, Brockham, you're able to re-inject water back into Brockham and get it flowing again. So tell us all about what's happening at Brockham at the moment. How many wells are you going to be operating, and what exactly are you expecting to happen there?
Okay, we've got 3 wells on that site. One was traditionally a water injector, so there was permission to inject water for many years, and that was rescinded as part of a general review by the Environment Agency. And it's taken us 2 years to prove that that all the wells and equipment are in good order to inject. We finally got that permission just the other day. That's great news for us, because we can now start to flow the producer well, which is next door to the injector well, and estimate what kind of barrelage we'll be able to obtain from that. But certainly it should be much greater by virtue of the fact we can dispose of water exceptionally cheaply than it was when I took over. So all in all, I'm convinced the field will be profitable. I can't tell you right now how profitable, but it will definitely be making an inroad into G&A, if not much more. So on top of that, we will perforate the BRX4Z well, subject to planning permission in April from County Council in Surrey. So
how many wells will you have in operation there, and what's the barrel of oil per day figure for expected production?
Well, we don't have a BOPD because we haven't flowed the well for so long, and we don't know the impact of water injection on barrelage. Also, as I think I've mentioned, we are looking for reperforation of the third well, which was the Kimmeridge well in the old days, to address the very crest of the Portland. This should be where pressure is good and the oil is dry, and that will significantly improve the barrelage. All in all, I expect the field to be very profitable again for shareholders.
Oh, absolutely fantastic news. Okay, and let's turn to the last and final question. Of course, the one thing we all want answers to is what we haven't talked about. You've alluded to it a couple of times, the potential sale of Saltfleetby. Now, this is with the Takeover panel, of course, which makes communication extremely awkward. So what sort of update can you possibly give us? What are you allowed to give us under Takeover panel terms?
Almost nothing. It's like being in Stalinist Russia. What we can say is that if there'd been a material change to our previous announcements, for instance, if we weren't in discussion with anyone but one party or with no parties, we would have had to have announced that. So you can take it as read that we are continuing to be in discussion with parties. We can't say more than that, other than to add, Donald, as a board, we work so hard for this. We are not about to give this away for a song, as some shareholders concerned. We will drive the hardest bargain that we can in this environment.
And you know, and they know that the gas price is pretty high at the moment, so it's hardly a secret, isn't it?
It's hardly a secret, and it looks to remain high. I mean, we've looked around the industry just briefly, anecdotally, how little new investment there is, even now, even at these prices, how few new fields are coming online. And bearing in mind, it takes 2 or 3 years of planning to bring some of the larger assets online. What are we looking at?
Blythe from IOG comes to mind, but there aren't many of them.
Yeah, exactly. Not many at all.
Not many at all.
We're quite hopeful about a medium term, and that's looking at 5, 6, 7 years view on the pricing environment. Yeah.
Okay, George Lucan, MD at Angus Energy. Thank you so much for joining us today. That was absolutely brilliant, as ever. If you'd like to hear more interviews like this one, please Google London South East YouTube and subscribe to receive alerts to get interviews just like this. As ever, thanks for watching and do stay safe.